more and more food is produced in the world today. Even still, more people are starving today than ever before. The United Nations says that world agriculture could feed 12 billion people. Yet, every 5 seconds, a child dies of hunger. What's going wrong in trying to solve one of the major problems facing humanity? This film accompanies David Seitz, the former Secretary of State for Economic Affairs in Switzerland, to discover the reasons underlying the problem of hunger. What is the role of modern commodity exchanges? Why can international politics apparently do nothing to prevent hunger? What can third world governments do? And what can the people concerned do? Our journey begins in Rome, the headquarters of the United Nations organizations that deal with the problem of hunger. The FAO publishes its statistics each year, and the current figures are shocking. More than 1 billion people go hungry every year, even though our planet could actually feed them all.
In 2007, 2008, we had a vertical increase in food prices. This created 150 million more hungry people. During this 3-year period, we had 2 record harvests, right? So global food availability has never really been a problem. The problem was the ability of people to access food when prices were double. So the fundamental problem is that higher prices did not allow people to buy adequate food.
Are soaring food prices the major problem in the fight against world hunger? The trail leads to Chicago. This is where the prices for the world's main staple foods are determined. Whereas Wall Street is the place to go for stock trading, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is the place for commodities. Every day, billions are spent on rice, corn, wheat, soybeans, or sugar. The price agreed on by traders determines who can afford something to eat and who cannot. We meet Trey Canepa, who has been a trader in Chicago for 14 years. Trey Canepa takes us into a world known by few, but which determines the life of many.
How are you guys?
Well, thank you. We are eager to get in.
Yeah.
The bulk of the world trade in agricultural products is done at the Chicago Stock Exchange, which is why it always has the final say.
Selling on, what is it? 161, okay. This is going to be on ticket 878.
I happen to have a customer who lives in Brisbane, Australia, and so he will use, if he has a local negotiation to make with somebody, they say, well, where did Chicago close on Friday? And they'll use that until we reopen on Monday evening. Actually, we'll reopen on Sunday evening. So for the next couple of days, they would use our closing price today.
Speculation is often considered as the trigger of rising commodity prices. But the price is always the result of the market players' different views. For each trader who speculates on rising prices, there is one who does the opposite.
A quarter on 24. I had the golden egg today, and I made an omelet out of it. I was long some S&P index futures and held them and got out way too fast and could have made more money. Oh well, it's the way it goes. Part of the deal.
In 2008, something happened which had never happened before. The prices of all staple foods reached record highs literally overnight. The prices for rice, corn, and wheat doubled within a few weeks. The traders panicked, which amplified the effect. But what had happened? The extreme price rise in 2008 had nothing to do with normal price fluctuation, and it led to a dramatic global hunger crisis. We want to find out who benefited from these rising prices and visit an American farmer. Farmer John Phipps lives about 3 hours' drive from Chicago.
I grow corn and soybeans, and that's all we grow. It's a feed grain, a cash crop, it's sometimes called. For that sector of agriculture, I would be fairly typical to maybe perhaps a slightly small farm at 2,100 acres.
This year is phenomenal. This is farther ahead than we've ever been at this junction. The old saying was corn knee-high by the 4th of July. Well, we passed that on the 4th of June. And this stuff will certainly be tasseling, be pollinating by the 4th of July.
2 years have passed since the crisis. While U.S. farmers are looking forward to a record harvest, prices are on the rise again.
What has skewed prices is the availability of immense wealth. Just on one day, a few of them show up with billions of dollars. That's how much wealth there is available. That's when you get transients in the grain markets that no one can understand and that seem so particularly unfair. I don't know what the answer is to that. And part of the problem is we still haven't come to grips in this world with what to do with all of our money. We have trillions and trillions of excess savings looking for somewhere to be. And part of the volatility that people ascribe to other causes in the commodity markets is simply the result of money looking for something to buy.
Only 10% of global agricultural production is traded internationally. Following the slump in real estate and stock markets, a lot of money was invested in this very tight market, and this has strongly increased price fluctuations. We want to find out from Mark Gold what this means in terms of medium-term price developments. Gold used to be a trader, but today he advises American farmers on how to make better use of the market.
American farmers said once these index funds got into the market, we'd never see $2 corn again. Well, they were wrong. We've seen it from 96 to 2005. Any reason why we couldn't see it again? No reason I know of. Now, granted, some of these peaks were higher, but if you look at a kind of a flatline average price, we're right about where we've been for the last 35 years, 40 years. Yes, there have been peaks, and yes, this will cause hunger around the world. And I think both of these highs were somewhat distorted by the index funds. But those markets had a reason to go up. It wasn't the index funds that caused the market to go up. The market needs a reason. The supply and demand will still outweigh just the mere buying. Because no matter how big the index funds are not bigger than the market.
What I'm doing for you, Clay, we're buying 8, and that's the March soybean, and that's going to be the 840. I'm going to work that at 29 cents or better. Hopefully we'll pick us up a little better. I'm going to work this as a day order only, and get it in and work it for you. If we got a fill, I'm back on the phone to you.
Every speculation needs a reason, and the real trigger for price hikes is, according to Gold, always to be found in the real world.
Weather becomes obviously the key issue this time of year to production, and we have to be right on top of it to know if there's changes. I can assure you, if it turns 95 to 100 degrees in the Midwest and we don't see rain the month of July or the month of August, regardless what the funds may or may not do, these markets, in my opinion, are going straight up.
No matter how much market speculation there is, it is natural events and environmental disasters that drive prices. And these are becoming more and more frequent and intense.
That one was close. That one was right there. That was right at the lake.
Even when there is no global shortage of food, local events may lead to global price increases. But it is not unusual for politics to be involved as well.
On a bien vu, en 98, avec la crise sur le riz, que des pays qui étaient confrontés à une hausse de prix et qui ont institué des obstacles à l'exportation n'ont fait qu'empirer la hausse des prix internationaux, ce qui a fortement pénalisé des pays qui sont obligés d'avoir recours au commerce international parce qu'ils ne produisent pas assez.
As we shoot these pictures, Russia imposes an export ban on wheat because of a drought. Russia is the third largest wheat producer in the world, so the markets react immediately. Rising food prices are a problem for the countries that depend on the import of their staple foods. We travel to Senegal. Although 70% of the population lives from agriculture in this country, it cannot feed itself. Senegal has to rely on staple food imports. In view of recent developments, such dependence constitutes an existential problem for many countries in Africa. But how can a country in which 2/3 of the population are farmers be so dependent on the import of its staple food?
Les institutions de Bretton Woods imposaient effectivement au Sénégal, avec le désengagement de l'État, à un moment donné vers les années 80-84 jusqu'en 90, on imposait à notre État de ne plus investir dans l'agriculture et dans l'éducation, parce qu'on les considérait des secteurs improductifs. Ce qui était une erreur fondamentale. L'agriculture qui intéresse plus de 70% de notre population, parce que plus de 70% de notre population sont des ruraux. Et cela avait mis à genoux notre agriculture. Les gens n'avaient plus d'espoir sur l'agriculture. Tout le monde maintenant se dirigeait vers les grands centres urbains, tout le monde vers Dakar. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé donc? Le quota dont le Sénégal avait besoin était très loin d'être atteint. Et on met beaucoup de milliards pour importer du riz. En 2008, la crise alimentaire a frappé le Sénégal. Compte tenu de la bourse faible des ménagers, compte tenu également de la crise financière qui sévissait en même temps que cette crise alimentaire, alors au niveau des familles, la situation était ingérable.
Most African countries used to be self-sufficient. The current dependence is not least the result of an outside influencing control.
Überall, wo der Weltwährungsfonds ein Strukturanpassungsprogramm für die Umschuldung und so weiter den Ländern aufzwingt, dort steigt der Hunger. Senegal importiert 72% seines Reises und die meisten fruchtbarsten Flächen werden von Erdnussplantagen, die für die Lebensmittelindustrie in Frankreich, also für die Vegetalölindustrie in Frankreich bestimmt sind, besetzt.
Peanuts generate major foreign exchange profits in Senegal. The vast majority of the rural population lives directly or indirectly from their cultivation. But peanuts are not a staple food. Peanuts alone cannot feed the population of Senegal. The income from peanut exports finances the import of staples such as rice. But while the price of imported rice increased constantly, the world market price for peanuts plummeted. This meant the brink of ruin, not only for the farmers, but also the local oil presses.
Généralement, il se base sur le prix international. Comme nous devons produire et exporter une partie, si nous fixons un prix ici qui n'est pas adéquat avec le prix international, et nous importons nos intrants, nous importons nos pièces, nous importons nos machines, si on ne suit pas le cours international, on risque d'être en déphasage. Soit on va trop gagner sur les paysans, soit on va perdre parce qu'on va à l'extérieur alors qu'on a acheté cher.
During the 2008 crisis, the Senegalese government introduced agricultural reforms. The production of staple foods was increased to make the country less dependent on imports. However, African farmers have to contend with foreign competition.
Letztes Jahr haben die Industriestaaten 349 Milliarden Dollar bezahlt an Produktion und Exportsubventionen an ihre Bauern. Sie können also heute auf jedem afrikanischen Markt portugiesische, griechische, deutsche Tomaten, Gemüse, Früchte und so weiter zur Hälfte oder zu einem Drittel des Preises des entsprechenden afrikanischen Produktes, Inlandproduktes kaufen. Und einige Kilometer steht der afrikanische Bauer 10 Stunden unter brennender Sonne mit seiner Frau und seinen Kindern und hat nicht die geringste Chance, auf ein Existenzminimum zu kommen.
In a globalized world, productivity and cost efficiency are of prime importance. African farmers are up against an opponent that leaves them almost no chance. Back at John Phipps, his farm is about 500 times larger than an average farm in Africa.
This is the largest combine I've ever owned in my 35 years of farming. It is also, however, the smallest combine that John Deere makes.
The industrialized nations invest approximately $1 billion a day in agricultural subsidies. This is 30 times the amount at the disposal of agricultural development cooperation worldwide.
For my entire career, I have found agricultural subsidies to be morally irresponsible, and I mean, there is simply no justification for it. I just get that for having a body temperature somewhere close to 98.6. Not because I do anything, not because I'm worth a while or any deserving factors, simply because I have those acres. I get $24 for every acre. Well, once you hand that $24 out to every farmer, then the first thing he thinks of is, I know I can afford to spend $24 more to bid on this extra 200 acres and make my farm 200 acres larger, because that's what we're all doing. We're trying to grow.
Originally, subsidies were intended as a financial protection of the farmers. Today, they are welcomed as an additional capital investment. More and more is produced. Overproduction is the result. A large part of it is exported, flooding the markets of the developing countries. In Iowa, we meet Tom Youthy.
We're going to walk down here to our hog confinement barns. There's 3 barns. They're 220 foot long, 51 foot wide, and they'll house about 1,350 head of feeder pigs per building.
Tom also receives yearly subsidies from the U.S. government. Economically speaking, it is irrelevant whether he needs them or not.
I don't have any investment into these pigs. I'm just a contract grower. I just get paid for the building, like a motel room. I get paid so much per night. I think there is a policy in this country to overproduce. You know, a surplus is always good as opposed to a shortage. And that way, the surplus could be used around the world where needed.
Are these surpluses actually needed? Or are hidden interests behind these surplus exports?
Die Food Aid-Programme der USA, ja, sind nicht dann hoch, wenn der Bedarf in den Entwicklungsländern am größten ist, wenn es dort Missernten gibt, sondern die sind immer dann hoch, wenn die Ernte in Amerika hoch ist. Also das ist eigentlich die Bestätigung dessen, dass hier eine Art Entsorgung stattfindet.
This has become possible through export subsidies. They give local farmers an advantage in the global market, but at the same time, they prevent third world agriculture from developing properly.
Für diese Exportsubventionen ist in der heutigen Welt kein Platz mehr. Die gehören abgeschafft. Bis auf ganz wenigen Ausnahmen stehen zurzeit in der Europäischen Union alle möglichen Exportsubventionen auf Null. Europa ist bereit, diese Exportsubventionen abzuschaffen. Wir verlangen aber, dass die anderen Industriestaaten das auch tun.
American farms have long since grown into small businesses. They have become family businesses generating millions in turnover. Nevertheless, billions of taxpayers' money is shelled out to them. But the question is why? We want to know, so we asked the Illinois Farm Bureau.
I think right now the average amount, if you would say, for annual subsidies are 10 billion, 9 to 10 billion. So for years, the American farmers, have been told very clearly what the subsidies are in other countries. And so they're always looking, it's like if you're an Olympic swimmer and you're saying, well, these people here in this country can wear these skin suits, but I can't. They always want the most competitive tool.
Some subsidies make sense, others do not. Part of the $360 billion the West injects into agriculture each year is earmarked for the preservation of ecosystems and the countryside. The rest is money that could probably be put to better use. Rising prices, dependence on imports, and unfair competition against a fierce opponent. World trade appears to be more of a problem than a solution for the starving people of the Third World. Those who want to benefit from world trade have to be competitive, which means cost-effective investments. We drive to the north of Senegal. This is where you find one of the largest infrastructure projects in recent decades, the dam on the Senegal River. The government has invested billions in this project to gain fertile arable land for the population. But the implementation of the plan to improve self-sufficiency leaves much to be desired.
Die senegalesische Regierung hat den multinationalen Konzernen, zum Beispiel la Fruitière de Marseille, Hunderte von Hektaren zur Verfügung gestellt. Dort finden Sie jetzt die Treibhäuser, so groß wie ich sie nie gesehen habe in Europa, 5-stöckige Treibhäuser. Dort wird Gemüse, Früchte und so weiter hergestellt, das direkt vom neuen Flugplatz Saint-Louis nach Paris, London und so weiter exportiert wird.
Foreign direct investments are generally thought of as economic stimulus measures. However, they should benefit both foreign investors and the developing country.
Nous avons ici au Sénégal un esprit d'ouverture pour les étrangers qui veulent venir investir et nous leur facilitons la tâche par le biais des exonérations en ce qui concerne le matériel agricole, par la possibilité de transférer le revenu sans aucun problème. Mais de l'autre côté, nous demandons à ces investisseurs de coopérer avec la population locale, de manière à ne pas prendre les terres à ces populations locales et à ne rien laisser en contrepartie. Donc nous encourageons une sorte de coopération.
We look for signs of such cooperation, but it looks more like coexistence. Besides Senegalese huts, we find entire Chinese villages.
Whichever land we choose to till and to put into production, this land there is already someone there. There are no more empty lands, or very few. And these lands where people are living, communities are living, what is fundamental for us is that, first of all, the local communities and the local population are consulted, are informed, are in a situation where they can make their judgment about, is this investor is coming here only for his own interest without disregarding what will happen to us, or can we make business with this one? And this is, in our view, what is currently lacking.
We want to find out to what extent the local population has benefited from the commitment of the French group. We repeatedly requested an interview over a period of several weeks, but were rejected again and again. This is our last attempt on the spot.
Et on a demandé l'autorisation, et puis on n'a encore pas reçu la réponse, et on est là maintenant.
The door remains closed to us again, and foreign commitment in Senegal is left in doubt.
Das Landgrabbing ist also die schlechteste Entwicklung, die wir zurzeit vorfinden. Weil das Landgrabbing ist ja erstens dazu da, dass das, was dort auf diesem Land produziert wird, ins Ausland geht. Also das hilft für die Eigenversorgung 0, Josef. Zum Zweiten werden nur Produkte angebaut, die diejenigen interessieren, die also dieses Land aus dem Ausland pachten oder kaufen. Und zum Dritten wird da überhaupt keine Verbindung hergestellt zur dort ansässigen und heimischen Landwirtschaft, sondern das ist wie ein Fremdkörper. Das ist eigentlich eine Art Neokolonialismus.
Interest in Africa seems huge, although it is more in its riches than in its problems. Senegal has far more to offer than just fertile soil. At the port of Dakar, we notice many Asian ships. Chinese and Taiwanese trawlers are being loaded with fish. Despite an official authorization, we have to stop filming. We want to find out where these fish came from and follow the coast further south. We visit Laban Ndoye, who has worked here as a fisherman his whole life. Tipu Dien, rice and fish, is the national dish.
Maanaam ñun dañ ciy ut lekk si li si des ñu jaay ko xaalis bi la ñuy utiliser si la ñuy tabaxee kër maanaam ma joxe si benn exemple fii ñu ne nii suñu famille bi ñu fi nekkee booba fii mel woon nii. Maanaam dunde gi metti na mettiwul parce que ñun sunu ñax rek la ñuy dunde maanaam bu ñu demee bu ñu amee dund maanaam bu gaal gi amee jën lépp am bu ñàkkee it fu mu toll rek ñu xamee ne foofu la toll waaye amuñu problème yooyu parce que loolu mooy sunu dundin. Am nañu léegi jafe-jafe yu metti maanaam frais bi ñuy maanaam jën wi dafa amatul maanaam dafa sonn léegi. Maanaam gouvernement Sénégal ay bateau dañuy ñëw fii ñu may leen ay licence profondeur yi ñu war a mbaale duñ fi mbaal maanaam am na coréen am na xeetu tubaab bu ne dafi daan ñëw mooy bateau yu de pêche yi nga xamee ne ñaari bateau lu daan doon day am ñaari mbaal mu mag moo xamee ne day mat ay 4 kilomètres yooyu bii taxaw fii ñuy toj xeer yi di génne yi ñu soxla di tuur di tànn yi ñu soxla yi si des ñu di ko tuur li gën a yàq géej gi si la bokk ak nappin bu bees bi xew léegi te mag ñi xamuñu ko woon nappin bu bees bi mooy jàpp jën yu ndaw yi tuur ka tànn sa ya nga soxla bon yàqu-yàqu yi nekk si géej te doo pêcheur doo ko xam.
Fishing is vital to Senegal, and the consequences of overfishing are difficult to predict.
Der Verkauf von Fischereirechten, also das ist eine Provokation. Und da sollte man sich nicht täuschen. Das ist ein Stoff, aus dem künftige Kriege entstehen können. Ja? Und da gibt es leider keine Ausrede. Da ist die Politik gefragt.
So we ask the politicians in charge. David Seats on his way to the competent minister.
Nous avons été au port ce matin. On a vu des bateaux chinois. Et ils étaient très très mécontents de nous voir filmer. Pourquoi?
Vous savez, la Chine, j'ai un peu de droit de réserve quand même par rapport à cette puissance montante. Elle s'étend de plus en plus. Elle est dans tous les secteurs économiques du continent africain. Donc ne soyez pas surpris que vous puissiez trouver en mer sénégalaise, notamment dans les ports sénégalais, des bateaux chinois. Vous seriez promené un tout petit peu vers le marché Sandaga, ou sur une grande avenue qui s'appelle l'avenue du Général de Gaulle. Mais ils y sont, ils tiennent boutique, le commerce est entre leurs mains. Et ils ont pris des Sénégalais. Actuellement, ils sont tellement bien intégrés qu'ils parlent nos dialectes. Ils parlent Wolof, ils parlent Toucouleur, bien entendu, ils parlent français. Mais que pouvez-vous? L'OMC a ses règles qu'il faut respecter. On ne peut pas interdire aux Chinois de venir commercer au Sénégal, comme on ne peut pas interdire aux Chinois de faire la pêche au niveau du Sénégal, dans la mesure où ils respectent la législation nationale. Les bateaux qui sont ici ont respecté la législation, ont des licences de pêche, on ne peut rien contre ces bateaux-là.
Il faut que l'argent que l'État récupère de par des accords retourne à la pêche, d'abord pour sécuriser nos pêcheurs, mais également pour sécuriser nos espaces maritimes et sécuriser également tout ce qu'il y a comme poisson dans nos eaux. Parce que souvent, c'est de l'argent qu'on utilise en parlant de recapacitation ou bien on parle de renforcement de capacité. C'est des séminaires à n'en pas finir, des réunions à n'en pas finir. Mais qu'est-ce qui gagne? Ces fonctionnaires, ces consultants qui prennent leur per diem, qui sont dans les hôtels, mais ceux qui sont dans la mer, ceux qui sont dans les champs, sous le soleil, ils ne reçoivent absolument rien du tout.
A system about to collapse. On the beach, we encountered Daniel Gomi. He has a small nearby hotel, and he also lives from the sea. Gomi is angry about the situation here on the coast, and yet he does not only blame others.
Vous n'avez pas l'air d'être très content avec ce que fait le gouvernement. En particulier, vous êtes très mécontent de ce qui ne se passe rien au niveau de la pollution ici.
Rectification, pas avec le gouvernement, mais avec la mentalité des populations. Okay. Ils devraient savoir que, quelle que soit la nature de leurs activités, leurs enfants doivent bénéficier de leurs efforts demain. Malheureusement, ce qui se passe, voilà. L'exploitation anarchique des produits halieutiques, des produits qui sont dans la mer, nous a amené à ça. Cette poubelle, cette balise d'immondices, les mailles de filet qui ne sont pas respectées. Résultat, demain, nos enfants n'auront rien à se mettre sous là-dedans. Déjà qu'ils ont des problèmes pour avoir du poisson, de la viande. Il n'y a rien. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez qu'on fasse? Pas le gouvernement. Les gens n'ont qu'à avoir une prise de conscience eux-mêmes. Pousser le gouvernement à mettre en place un système pour les aider à régler ces problèmes-là. Il faudrait qu'il y ait la communication entre le gouvernement et les populations. Là, je suis d'accord. Mais les finalistes, ce ne sont pas nos chefs d'État, ni nos gouvernants. Les perdants, au fini, ce sont nos enfants. Moi, je n'attends pas du chef de l'État qui vienne prendre mon enfant, qui l'amène à l'école, ou qui fasse le marché pour lui. C'est à nous de régler ça.
People should take matters into their own hands, says Gomi. We hear about a small village where the population is doing just that. The village Kër Medoun is located in the south of Senegal, about half an hour from the nearest paved road. The 300 villagers live on peanut and millet crops. There is no running water nor electricity. During the 3 summer months, the village suffers a food shortage. This period of about 100 days is called the 100 Days of Bridging the Gap. We meet Soliman Bassoum. He is the initiator of the project Dîner commun, which is supported by the Swiss Catholic Lenten Fund.
La soudure, c'est quand vous avez fini les anciennes récoltes et vous n'avez pas encore eu les nouvelles récoltes. C'est une période de gap. Et elle est très dangereuse. C'est la période où on perd tout, parce que c'est la période où on met en gage tout le matériel qu'on a. C'est la période où on s'endette. Mais encore, c'est une période où, si vous n'avez pas de quoi manger, vous ne pouvez pas aller travailler. Nous, on pensait que la meilleure solution, c'était de trouver les initiatives locales, ce qui marche seulement avec les populations.
Throughout the year, a field is jointly cultivated by all the villagers. Each family does its share.
Ce sont eux qui ont travaillé. C'est pas moi. C'est eux qui ont travaillé, donc c'est eux qui ont organisé ces champs.
The harvest from this field is kept in storage and may not be touched before the 100 days begin.
J'ai commencé cette démarche en 97, mais je n'étais pas aimé. Tout le monde voulait, d'abord les premiers paysans qui m'ont vu, ils voulaient ma mort. Ils m'ont dit, ce gars-là, on souhaite qu'il meure, parce que s'il vit longtemps, les projets vont changer. On n'aura plus des Blancs qui nous donnent de l'argent. Et ils ont fait une prière à la mosquée, c'était en Casamance, et ils ont souhaité que ma voiture se renverse au cours de route. 4 ans après, ils m'ont dit, on n'avait pas compris. Ils m'ont dit, mais un projet qui ne donne rien, c'est quoi? Je dis, mon projet, il donne la dignité. Si vous avez la dignité, vous aurez tout. J'essaie de leur montrer qu'ils ont de l'or. Parce que souvent, ils pensent à aller en ville. Parce que la pauvreté est un traumatisme. Avant, ils me disaient, mais Bassoum, il faut nous donner l'argent. Aujourd'hui, ils sont très contents de dire que tous ces millions-là, c'est notre argent. Il n'y a pas l'argent de quelqu'un de l'extérieur.
Ich glaube, das Richtige ist, was so schön heißt, Bottom-up-Approach. Ja? Also von unten her die Dinge zu entwickeln. Man muss aufhören, immer alles sozusagen durch die europäische oder amerikanische Brille zu betrachten und so zu tun, also liebe Afrikaner, wir wissen, wie es geht, tut's nur das, was wir euch sagen und dann wird alles gut werden.
The people themselves are the base of this project. If one single person or family does not cooperate, the whole project is at risk. You could say that this makes the entire project vulnerable, but you can also say that this is one of its strengths. It is now a normal part of village life.
Nous avons un programme national sur 12 régions, sur 350 villages déjà, et nous allons maintenant aller sur 650 villages dans les 3 années à venir. Ce qui nous a beaucoup impressionné, c'était que les villages travaillaient en commun et mangeaient en commun, ce qu'on ne trouvait pas dans les autres villages. Et donc nous avons essayé de mieux connaître cette innovation sociale, cette expérience, et nous l'avons bien caractérisée pour lui donner une autre valeur. On mange à tour de rôle dans toutes les maisons. Ailleurs, il y a des solidarités, mais c'est des solidarités où il y a des riches qui aident des pauvres. Mais ici, c'est une solidarité agissante. Tout le monde est capable d'aider, tout le monde est capable de profiter de ce qu'on a fait en commun. Et c'est ça la beauté.
According to their faith and tradition, the villagers only eat after sunset. The children are responsible for calling in all 300 villagers. The youngest among them can neither remember a time without dîner commun, nor ever going hungry. Africa is sitting on a great treasure. Previously it was gold, diamonds, or ivory. Today it is the land itself. And in a world of dwindling natural resources, this treasure is taking on increasing value. Most African countries are agricultural states. The population lives from agriculture, and many countries could easily be self-sufficient. Often it is not the production of the food that's the problem, but its distribution. In Ethiopia, for example, there is no real connection between the high-yield farmland in the west of the country and the drought-affected regions in the east. But the problem was detected.
I was an Ethiopian studying in the United States and very, very upset about what was happening in my country because of the 1984 famine and Live Aid and Band-Aid and all of these efforts to help hungry Ethiopians. And I remember thinking, you know, I'm going to do something about this and being very concerned and worried. And we were all at that time thinking we have to produce more. But a year later, I was studying economics and I happened to see a study that showed that there was actually a surplus in the southern part of Ethiopia, while in the northern part, nearly 1 million people died in 84-85 famine. So we had a distribution problem. Why couldn't we have moved through the private market system that grain to the north where there was a severe drought? And obviously there was a disconnect, and that disconnect is information gap, lack of contract enforcement, lack of grades, lack of transport, lack of infrastructure. So all of these things makes markets work or not work.
The history of famine in Ethiopia has made one thing clear. Developing a functioning market is the most efficient weapon in the fight against hunger. A connection must be established between supply and demand. Ethiopia has begun to build its own infrastructure. The farmers must get access to the market, and because it is difficult for an African country to compete in the world market, Ethiopia has simply developed its own. Addis Ababa, the unofficial capital of Africa, is the headquarters of the African Union and the birthplace of a new self-confidence. This is where the plans are laid for Africa's future. ECX, the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange, was founded in 2008. It is one of the most visionary projects in Africa. The establishment of this trading center in the capital is meant to revolutionize the country's vital commodities market. The idea comes from a woman who knows the economic theories of the industrial nations, as well as the realities of a developing country.
Basically, what we're trying to do is to make trading something that's a reliable, secure, efficient marketplace so that people can trade in the way that organized markets in the Western world have evolved. So we had to do several things. One is to guarantee the integrity of the product. So to do that, we do a quality certification. So we have laboratories and we grade the commodities. Then we guarantee the product through warehousing. So by keeping the commodity in a known place, then you're sure that the buyer will be able to get it. Finally, we have the integrity of the actors. Normally, our trading is based on relationships. My cousins, brothers, wives, sister, whatever. We have to know who we have to trade with because we don't know really otherwise how to trust them. When societies figure out how to enable people who don't know each other, who don't have to be related to each other, but who can trade anonymously in the marketplace, then the flow of goods and services will grow dramatically, and that brings about wealth and prosperity.
We receive maize now from coming from all over the country. In these days, in this month actually, there are more than 10 or 15 suppliers who brought their product or their commodity to the exchange. We expect that this year there will be a great business in depositing and delivering maize and other grains too.
We're the second largest maize producer after South Africa. We have the potential to have a very significant maize surplus here in Ethiopia. And next door, we have countries that are highly dependent on maize. In fact, in Kenya, there's sort of a structural deficit that every year they're importing maize from as far as Argentina and Ukraine and South Africa, and here we are next door. It's an exciting time for us here in Ethiopia because at this point we are really in an evolution. We're creating something that didn't exist and growing really as a country. So it's a big giant experiment, social experiment, what we're doing.
Potentially, we can feed the world by 2050. We have to make sure that we feed everybody, though. That's the big difference. 75% of the potentially arable land is concentrated in Africa and Latin America, mainly. The others have very little potential for land expansion.
Si on ne fait rien, mon sentiment est que les prix vont monter. Ce problème d'accessibilité, ce problème d'avoir de la nourriture à un prix abordable va s'aggraver et ce seront des problèmes politiques. Ce n'est pas un sujet qu'on peut laisser de côté.
We must put an end to this situation of hunger and extreme poverty, and the only way to do it in a sustainable way is actually to enable farmers first. International cooperation play a very important role, particularly in the poorest countries, but it's not the solution. The solution is there, is with them.
Nous voulons avoir notre dignité. Nous voulons être ce que nous sommes. Et pour être cela, nous avons besoin de mettre un système que nous maîtrisons, qui n'est pas dicté par un autre. Parce que quand le système est dicté par un autre, on risque de se perdre. On doit obéir à des règles qui culturellement ne partent pas.
Someone told me once there will always be hunger and poverty, and I think we find that to be unacceptable anymore, whether it's because of lack of transportation or political problems or bad weather, we really, as a world, should be able to get food to most places. And it really would be a tragedy to not figure out a way to solve it, because if you can't solve it now, what are you going to do in 20 years when the population's several billion more than it is now?
Also das wahre Problem ist nicht, dass man nicht erkennen würde, wo die Schwierigkeiten sind. Und das wahre Problem ist auch nicht, dass man keine Lösungen dafür hätte. Die Lösungen gibt es. Machen muss man es.